Hello, hello. I am so excited to be going live today. I'm going to be inviting my dear friend Ashley. We have connected recently and are so in tune with each other, just with the phase of life that we're in and what that looks like for us. So I'm going to wait for her to pop on and we are going to chat all things about living in alignment, what that means, what that looks like, how you can do it, what roadblocks might you come up against, how to overcome those, our experience, all the things. So I am going to invite her in here. Here we go. Just give it a second. Can someone comment, make sure you can hear me okay?
Hey!
Hello!
Hello!
Oh, this is so good.
Here we are. Amazing.
Good. Is my
Amazing.
sound okay?
It sounds good to me.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
You sound normal. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure. I know on Facebook you have to use the headphones, and I didn't want the audio to be weird, so.
I think we're good.
Welcome. This
Yes.
is, I've been looking forward to this all week, so I am just so excited to share you with my audience. I'm like, everyone, come meet this amazing human. So
Vice versa.
for the women that don't know you, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Just tell them who you are, what you do, what you're about.
Yeah, so my name is Ashley Yankana, or my handle, as you can probably see here, is at High Vibe Ash. So I am a certified life coach as well as a registered holistic nutritionist. I have been doing both types of coaching I'm going on to 8 years now, which is pretty awesome and exciting. And just being able to help women. So I did work with men previously, men and women, and just really zoning in, focusing in on my women audience as of the past 5 years to help them go from a place of anxiety and fear and even self-sabotage when it comes to their body and their mind, being able to really tap in and honor their body, honor what it is that they may not realize they deserve in life, but have them come to the clarity of knowing what they deserve and empowering them to step into their highest self so that they can actually move forward with confidence in gaining that, not just the clarity, but actually gaining that dream life of theirs from a place of self-care and making themselves a priority. So that's a little bit about what I do.
I love it. And if you don't follow her, you just do it right now. Just pop
so
off, follow her, come back. But she does an amazing job. She'll do these posts with these like mindset shifts, and they're subtle things but are life changing, and it's just so implementable, which I love. You'll do, this is mindset on this side of the negative space, and then kind of flipping it to what you can do and how to implement, and kind of being on the other side of it. And again, it's these little shifts that change everything, and you just do such a good job of making it so practical for women and just offering so much value. And I love it. I love it.
Well, and I know your audience already knows this, but you are such a high vibe woman of your own. And for, Lauren's audience here, that's how we actually came to get to know each other. We have a common interest of a friend, and she was able to kind of connect us. And from there, we just kind of resonated with each other with the stories that we'll share with you all today, and where we both were able to actually overcome and come into this energy of attracting and being these vibrant women that we are now. So I'm so excited to really kick this off.
Yes. So if anyone here doesn't know me, I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm a mom of 2. I live in Ohio in the States. I have 2 amazing daughters, 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, who are just my world. I work part-time and I coach part-time online. I've started out with network marketing and recently transitioned to offering my own programs, which just feels so good to know that I can help women go from a place of feeling stuck, like they're going through the motions, but feel like they're made for more. Maybe you've had a dream in your heart in the past that you haven't acted on, or maybe you feel like there's something more for you, but you don't know what that is yet, and take you from that hazy, not sure place to figuring out what that dream is, what it looks like, and building it. So we, come out of my program ready to take on your own clients or launch your product or whatever it is, because I truly believe that we are all gifted in unique ways, and we can earn income from doing what we love. And I just want to help more women do that, because again, both you and I, as we step into this place of serving in a way that feels so good to our heart, you can't help but share that. It's like you want other women to be empowered and step into their calling.
Right.
So let's kind of take the conversation back. I want to hear from you. Where were you kind of before you really stepped into this? Because you had a recent shift of kind of just maybe like a rebrand, I guess I would call it. Just, just kind of
Yeah.
stepping into this next level self yourself. So take us back to before that shift. What were you feeling? What were you experiencing? What was that like for you?
So let's take it back. Let's take it back even before then.
Go.
To so
Take
a
us on
lot
a
of
journey.
yeah, because it really is, right? So a lot of people when they first meet me now, they always say like, "Wow, like you're confident, bubbly, high energy, like very positive, happy person." And not to say that I was always like that or that I am always like that. In my teens and even in through my early 20s, I was always in a place of high anxiety. And that probably stemmed from where I felt I was in terms of my body growing up. Um, just just not feeling comfortable in who I was, not feeling comfortable in my body. And because of that, just really listening to the opinions of others and actually adopting those opinions as my own beliefs, right? So when people would say or mention things about my appearance or what they felt their expectations were of me, I actually truly took that in and internalized it for myself. And when you do that, you're not able to actually live freely as who you are, right? So it's almost like you have these, for me, they really felt like chains, and just not being able to, not being able to really blossom and be this woman that I always knew that I was, right? So from a very young age, I always used to tell my dad, like, I'm going to be this famous woman because I'm this strong woman. And, I really believe that. And then it's almost like I lost sight of who she was as I was getting into my teens and into my 20s. I used to go to events trying to be her, and I would get to an event and I literally would sit in the parking lot and cry because I had so much fear and anxiety about walking in because I was comparing myself to the woman that I saw going in from the parking lot into an event. Or I would end up in an event, so I'm talking like networking events and such. And I would actually end up in the washroom, like in a stall, just crying because there was just so much fear because it was like an internal battle. And maybe some of you can resonate with that. I know that I'm supposed to, or not supposed to be, but I know that I'm this woman, right? And she's just like this high vibe, vibrant woman. And I've always felt her inside of me. And yet I feel like I can't express her because I need to lose weight, or I need to get the promotion, or I need to meet the love of my life, or I need to start a family, or, whatever it may be. And that's where I had found myself too, just putting those chains on myself and holding myself back. Well, I could not live that way forever. So I had some major trauma in my own life, medically, and then just losing a very close loved one, which was my mom. And from there, I started advocating for myself, advocating for my own health, advocating for my own joy. And how that came to be was working with a coach. I did a lot of therapy, did the internal work to actually then step into the woman that I was, which was doing a lot more holistic nutrition coaching and focusing there. But in the back of my head, there was always, or in the back of my heart, I should say, there was always this place of emotional mental coaching, right? And as you had mentioned, Lauren, like the type of coaching that I do, it's not just nutrition. Actually, it's really self-care in terms of nutrition and really bringing out this woman that you are and being able to express her. And so recently, as Lauren had mentioned, I have fully stepped into her, like wearing these awesome glasses when I hadn't worn glasses for 10 years. And these aren't, the blue light glasses. These are my prescription glasses. And I never would have worn something like this before because I wanted to, but I was always afraid to. So here I am now being, high vibe Ash, just feeling myself every day, really enjoying who I am. And it doesn't mean that every day is a good body day or a good thought process day, but knowing how to shift my thought process, to move my body, to shift the energy within it, and actually continue every day to honor who I am, honor my own power and my opinions instead of others, and really live that way. And when I'm able to do that, then the women that I work with and the women I coach get to benefit from it too. So it's like when you allow yourself to be this bright light, well, you go around shining on all these other people who then take some of that and they ignite themselves. And then, oh my gosh, we have all these women walking around being bright lights to one another. So yeah, I think that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful ripple effect. And when you
It
give your
is.
permission to fully step into yourself,
Mm-hmm.
other women see that and it gives them permission to do that. And then the people in their life see that. And it's just this beautiful ripple. But a theme I kind of want to point out from your story, it sounds like before you were really focused outwardly. It was
Right.
an external, all of these external factors were really impacting your self-worth and your self-confidence and your identity and all of these things. And when you tuned in and listened in and did that inner work, that's when you truly became yourself.
That's
And I
right.
think that is a piece of this that is all of it. I mean, that's the thing, is tuning into your heart and what you want and what you need and what you desire. But what's hard in our society today is tuning out the noise. And it's so hard to get out of that comparison trap with social media and how accessible everyone's lives are. You know, we can see what other people are doing, and it's hard to compare our day one to someone else's year 3 or 7. You know, we don't see the full picture. We just see this piece and we compare ourselves. And again, learning to tune into our hearts is so, so important. In my story, I can really resonate with that too, of just, you know, that external validation that we get. It's easy to think, you know, what we get praised for growing up is our kind of identity,
Right.
and that's where our focus is, and that's where we think, you know, that's how we get our self-worth. And for me, it was the same thing, is really tuning in and listening of, what do I actually want? What actually lights me up? What really helps me move forward? And it can be a hard process. And I think working in healthcare too, I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that you lost your mom. I can't even imagine
Thank you.
that experience. Like, that's trauma, like terrible, terrible.
It really is.
But a wake-up call to help you really live,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And
right.
it's terrible that that happened, but unfortunately a lot of women do wait for the wake-up call before they
hmm
step in, you know,
hmm
before they step into who they want to be and the life that they want, and actually give themselves permission to do the things they want. And I mean, I've never lost someone that close to me, but especially working in healthcare, you know, you see those unexpected diagnoses and these accidents, and, you know, no one expects to get cancer or get in a car crash or, you know, whatever it is. But it happens. It happens every day, and I see it, and I have those hard conversations with family, you know, and it's terrible. And
hmm
I think when you work in that area and you see how truly precious life is, it just gives you that sense of, like, we can't wait. You know, there's that
Right.
urgency of, I can't wait to do the things I want to do, to live the life I want to live, to experience the things that I am here for, because our time is so precious.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And especially with, I mean, I'm sure we both have seen or coached women where you see, we see where they are right now and then where they end up being. And the one thing I always hear is, I wish I had started sooner. Like,
Right?
honestly. And I know
Yeah.
maybe there are a lot of coaches out there that say that, but that is the number one thing, whether it has to do with someone. I had a close friend who was battling cancer, and his thing, even, his thing was too, I wish that I had gave up candy, because that was a huge part of, his diagnosis, like a lot of sugar in his diet growing up for decades.
Yes.
And he had wished that he had gave it up sooner, or, even just allowing yourself permission, giving yourself permission sooner to actually
Mm-hmm.
even be curious about what could my life be, because it's okay to be curious too. That's actually incredibly healthy,
Yeah,
right?
it
Being
is.
curious, because if we're not curious, where does the clarity come from,
But
right?
that's part of the process, right? Is
Right.
we take steps forward. If something feels good and works well, we keep doing more of it, and that might
Mhm.
lead us, you know, farther down that path, or just to the next
Exactly.
step that leads us somewhere else. And if something doesn't work, we learn from that, right? It's
hmm
you get clarity through taking action. I
Yeah,
tell my clients that
exactly.
all the time, because if they're
Yes.
unsure, I just say clarity comes from action. Just start. Just take that next step. Just see what comes after.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you're able to do that proactively, then you don't have to wait for the trauma. You don't have to wait for the
And I
big thing
think
to happen.
that's what I see in you, and definitely resonate with myself, is I don't want someone to wait for their breaking point, for
hmm
that unexpected news, for that trauma in their life. I don't
Right.
want them to wait. I want to hand them the fast track those tools now. And I see that in you too, of, you know, you went through something so hard that helped you change your life, and you know, made something beautiful out of those ashes.
hmm
But you don't want someone else to have ashes to do it. You know, you just want to
Right.
give them a thriving life. So
Yes.
what
Right.
advice would you give someone if they're thinking, okay, I want to feel more like myself. I want to step into my purpose. I want to live in alignment. Where do you tell people to even start?
So that's always a good one. And I think we kind of answered that in looking inward. But here's the thing, looking inward can be really challenging because it's not just like, oh, okay, there we go, I'm looking inward. It's like,
here I am.
right? Yeah. How do I navigate this path? Like, where do I go when I'm looking inward? Do I start with journal prompts? What are those journal prompts? Do I start with meditation? Like, what does that mean when people say look inward? So again, I'm not saying this because I'm a coach, but finding yourself a mentor or coach, a therapist, like somebody to guide you through, having that guide is so incredibly important. And it's kind of funny. I can't remember what book it is, but there's a book that I read and they are talking about like the different people we need in our life. And one of them is a guide, right? Like you see it in TV shows, you see it in movies all the time. There's like something that happens and then there's like a downhill, there's everybody ends up going downhill and then they meet a guide who's like this bright light that starts showing them the path and giving them clear steps. So if you are looking inward and it's confusion that you see, because a lot of the time we're looking inward because there's wound, there's murky waters, there's dark clouds, there's things that we haven't sifted through yet to find the jewels in the sand,
Mm-hmm.
So we need someone to kind of give us those tools, as you had said, and actually show us how to do that. And when you have that person, then you can really start seeing what the next steps are and you can start to find that clarity, right? Like, I can see clearly now, like the clouds start to part and the sun comes through, right? Yeah. And I know you can sing. I saw your story the other day. You were with your daughter at night. But yeah, right? Like that song makes so much sense because when you have someone to show you the first steps, and even for my own story, I wish I had started therapy many years before I actually had started. I waited for the trauma to start therapy, and I'm now strongly someone who believes we all can use therapy.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't matter what you got going on. You're happy with your life, sign up for therapy because you could be even happier. But yeah, finding that guide. And otherwise, if you do feel that you're capable and ready to start looking inward without a coach or a therapist or a mentor, then, finding where you need to start to take action, right? So this is where I'm at right now. This is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make those like the little bridge that goes across, right? And like you had mentioned before, you need to take action to enable yourself to do that, right? So actually processing, finding the clarity. Maybe it starts with your self-talk, going from negative to a more positive state. Maybe it starts with how you see yourself in the mirror, right? Your actual body image, because when we feel good in our body, that ripples outwards,
and
right?
So yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Our outside world will always reflect the inside world and vice versa, right? Changing your environment, maybe it's something on the outside, changing your job, so yeah, starting inwardly, whatever that may look like for you.
Yeah, and I just want to give some tips. I think it can look different for all of us. Mm-hmm. So maybe it is taking that first step and finding a therapist. I mean, I tell my patients all the time, you come to your doctor for your wellness visits to make sure that you're staying healthy. And when you're sick, you come more often. Same thing with mental health. We should all have a provider that keeps us healthy. And if we're having high anxiety, depression, tough thoughts or go through trauma, whatever it is, we go more often. So I think our society's doing a better job of kind of letting go of that stigma in mental health, but I think, maybe it looks like starting steps is going to a therapist for the first time.
Right.
Maybe it's having a phone call with a friend where you can talk about deeper topics. Maybe you start journaling and just free writing and see what comes up. Maybe you start listening to guided meditations. It can look so different for all of us, but I think the question to ask is, what do I need? Yeah. Because a lot of times we don't even give ourselves permission to put ourselves first at all. We don't we don't know what we want. We don't know what we need, but you have to ask yourself to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the first part of tuning in is just giving yourself permission of, I'm allowed to value myself enough to put in the work. I'm allowed to take time for my own growth. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of the women I talk to, they feel guilty if they take time to journal or take time to have a night away from their kids or want time alone or want to travel. They feel guilt over taking care of themselves. And that's something that I just want to like shake the world of, but you'll be so much better off and everyone around you will be better off when you're well taken care of.
I love that you brought that up and I saw some hearts going off while you were saying that, because that is so incredibly important. And as women, like I saw this really funny thing online the other day, and it was a woman who said, her and her husband got COVID at the same time, and she actually thought that her menstrual cycle was just coming on, right? Because he was like sick in bed, he couldn't move, and she was like, "Oh,
I think I'm
you're
getting
sick, but I'm not." Yeah, and she's like breastfeeding her baby, she's just
Oh
like
my
working, breastfeeding her baby, and this is a weird period, right? Meanwhile, she had COVID.
Oh
Okay,
God.
so that just goes to prove not that we are better than men, nothing of that sort, but the fact that we will always juggle and hold on to as much as we can because we believe that we are the balance in our world.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if we don't pour into ourselves, how do we maintain that so-called balance, right? At some point, you're
Giving
going
and
to drop.
giving and giving. Yeah,
Right.
and that's what a lot of my clients find is they get to this place of complete emptiness because all they do is take care of their family and their patients and their spouse and the dog and their extended family, and they volunteer at the church, and they're just giving, giving, giving. And a lot of women find their identity in that, and it comes from a good place. It comes from a beautiful place of wanting to serve and wanting to help and wanting to bless people. But we lose ourselves. We lose our identity, and it gets to the point of, I don't know who I am without these external things. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want. And I think my biggest mission now is just to give women, to empower them to give themselves permission. And it sounds silly that we need permission.
I know.
But it's so true. We need that permission to say, what do I actually want out of my life? How do I want to feel? What do I want to do? What do I actually enjoy? And allowing them to set those boundaries.
Right. So tell us then, because you're a mom, you work, where did you start to find or make that time for yourself? Like, what did that look like for you? From where you started with maybe not making any time to almost feeling burnt out to how you first started taking those first steps.
So looking back, it's easier to identify. If you had asked me at the time, I'd say, I'm just trying things. But looking back, what actually was working, like with anything, it starts with our awareness, right? So if you want to change your thoughts, if you want to change your eating, if you want to, any type of habit, anything you want to change, it just purely starts from gently observing, what am I doing right now? Is it working? Is it not? So I looked at my schedule and saw that, at the time I was working 12 days straight between my 12-hour shifts at the hospital and full-time grad school, and I was breastfeeding my baby, and we weren't sleeping through the night, and I was doing homework in all my free time, had no time to myself. And I had this realization, I wish I could remember what book I was reading at the time, but I realized everything in my schedule I had said yes to in some capacity.
Oh, yes.
And it was just that awareness and responsibility of, this is my life. I built this. I am exhausted and burnt out because I said yes to everyone except me.
Right.
Right? I thought it would look good on paper to do this, and I don't want to let this person down, so I do this, and I show up in this way because I have to, and realizing I'm choosing these things. I don't have to do any of it. Yes. Honestly, all of us, if we wanted to say no to everything, never work another day, we all have the option. We could be homeless, living on the street, never go to work a day in our life. That's an option, but we have a minimum that we are okay with, and for most of us, it's above living on the street. Right. And again, just having that awareness, taking responsibility, and then deciding, okay, if I have the choice of how I build my life, which we all do, how do I want to build it? What do I want it to look like? And then I started getting really clear on that, and I knew I want to use my degree because I like helping patients. I enjoy that work, but I don't want it to be my life. I want to have weekends. I want to be able to travel. I don't want to be on call when I'm with my family, having to answer phone calls and be away. I want to be able to see my friends and go places. And, I had this vision of having more free time, of being able to have flexibility in my schedule where I could travel and do things. And that's the life I have today. And realizing, sorry, my battery's running low.
Yep, you're good now.
Having that first circle moment to realize that we are in control, we choose our life, and we can build whatever we want. And the fact that I'm living the life today that a few years ago was just this dream of, oh my gosh, like dream scenario. I work part-time. I don't work weekends. I don't work holidays. I don't take call shifts. I can play with my girls. I can be
Right?
outside. I can travel with my best friend and we can go somewhere on the weekend. And I'm living that. And that is
Right.
just what I want to shout from the rooftops is
Yes.
you can build the life you want to live. And yeah.
Yeah. Dream
So
scenario
getting
to
clear,
reality.
exactly. Getting
Yes.
clear on what you want, taking responsibility for where you are, but not judging yourself for it, right? Giving yourself a lot of grace. And once you have clarity of where you want to be, like you said, fill in the gaps. So this is where we are. This is where we want to be. What needs to happen? And
Right.
that's the last phase of my program that I take women through. It. We build a roadmap. We're literally saying we're really clear on our starting place. We know where we are. We're really clear on our dream.
Right.
What's missing. And
Yes.
we fill that in so that they have a plan. And again,
Yes.
things can change, things get updated, you'll get more detail as you take action. But again, what do we need to do to bring us from point A to point B?
Yeah. And who do I need to be, right? Like I
Yes.
know that was a big one for me and a big one for clients that we work with, right? Who do I need to be? What kind of boundaries do I need so that I can actually conserve my energy for those who mean the most to me? Like for you, your children, right? For me, like my partner and my family. And then be able to actually have that energy, be able to say no to things that aren't serving me and where I want to be. Right now I'm saying yes to everything and it's running me dry. But if I start to put up those boundaries and start to say no to certain things that just don't serve me or it doesn't restore my energy, then I can actually start cultivating this woman that has, she's always been in there, but just start to like allow her to breathe, right?
No, I
And
always love,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, just allow her to breathe and actually like blossom and come out, right?
I love that you use those words because I by no means have a green thumb. Like I'm not into plants like a lot of people are. But I love the analogies that come from farming, gardening, whatever you want to call it, but just the idea of if you plant a seed, so anything new that you're starting, whether it's a business or a healthy routine, whatever it is, you plant the seed and you don't see fruit immediately. And you don't dig up the seed to see, is it growing roots? Like you don't dig the thing up to check on it. You trust the process one day at a time. The sun will come up and you trust that that's enough energy to help it create photosynthesis and give it the ATP it needs,
Right.
We trust that as I water it, it will be hydrated. And we trust the little actions and knowing and having the faith that someday the fruit will come out and we can harvest it.
Yeah.
And we have to remind ourselves of that in our life with any goal that we face. Is it we have to trust ourselves. We have to trust the process. We have to have the faith that the fruit will come. And we have to keep showing up for it and nurturing it and loving on it.
Yeah. I fully agree with you. And that I think was, for me, always the challenge, or previously was always the challenge. And then with my clients, that is one of the reasons why I love working with them. They love working with me. And I'm sure with your clients as well, because having someone to check in with and someone to continue to remind you, don't you pull up that seed. You give it more light. And you give it more water, but don't you pull that seed out of there to check on it. We need to trust, because the faith in the process is such a huge part of it, right? Because you can do all the work, but if you're not truly believing in it, then it truly isn't going to come to fruition for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the mindset of that is so huge. So how would someone know? How would they know that they're living in alignment? What are some signs that alignment is happening?
Yeah. So I love this question because it's like, you could be super, as they say, woo-woo about it. But you could also, it's different for everybody is what I'm saying. Yeah. So, for myself and even for clients that I've worked with, when it comes to feeling it's a feeling, right? So yes, you will start to see things happening in your life as you trust the process, as you take responsible action, you start to see things happening. Maybe opportunities start to appear, or if more money starts to come into your bank account. You notice that there are more sunny days. However, there aren't actually more sunny days. You're just starting to see from a different set of eyes because you have shifted the internal, as we talked about, right? So it truly is such a deep feeling, and it's a knowing, as we were saying, like believing, it's a knowing that things are always, like I would say, this or something better. Things are always going to be as they are right now or something better. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
not where I want it to be right now, then it's the something better. And if, just taking gratitude day by day is really important for alignment as well. So yeah, knowing that you're in alignment, it is a knowing, it is a feeling, and it's observing that, wow, things are flowing differently. I'm in this state of flow where things feel good, opportunities are coming to me. As I said, maybe there's more money in the bank. Maybe the house is like the house that you wanted is up for sale. Like things that seem strange start to happen. And
Yeah.
maybe it even sounds weird, but like synchronicity, right? Like things
It
start to
is.
happen
No,
for
it is.
you. Yeah, and you start to, instead of being the person that was always trying to take action, the woman trying to take action and balance it all, you step back, you do the responsible work, and then you observe and you allow things to happen, right? And that's where the alignment comes from. And you do feel it, you do see it, you witness the tangible, and you believe and know on the inside.
Absolutely. The best way I can describe it,
Yeah.
it's almost the feeling of a deep exhale.
Mm,
Because I know when I was living
I love that.
out of alignment and saying yes to all the external things and not clear on who I was and what I wanted, it's almost like you're breathing really shallowly. And when you're finally able to breathe in deeply, and it's like that pause at the bottom of a breath that's just
Yes.
peaceful.
Yes.
That's the best way I could embody that feeling.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that the synchronicities in your life will start to happen. And when you see people and think like, oh, they're so lucky, it's like, no,
No,
they're
they're
being
not.
themselves. You're like, they're
That's
in
right.
alignment, you know? They work really hard, they put in the work, they did their side, and they have faith that, God's grace will fill in the gaps. Like the
That's
universe will
right.
provide what you need. And they did their part, and they kept showing up. They trusted that
Mm-hmm.
that seed was growing, and they kept showing up for it even on the cloudy days.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? You were talking about your dream scenario. This just popped into my head. So when I was a little girl, I've always loved country music, and I would tell my dad that I am going to marry a man one day and live out in the country, and I'm going to have my own business, and I'm just going to help people because I just know that I know my soul, my God's purpose is to help people, help women. Guess what?
Do you
That's
live in
my
the
life.
country?
Not married yet, but like
I love it.
dated so much, did Bumble, did a lot of online dating, because that's just what it was. When you got over 30, all your friends are married and having
That's
kids,
what you have to do,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And then meanwhile I wasn't. So, but truly, knowing and believing and doing the work had was allowed me to take that dream scenario and like, we are building our house. We start June 1st,
Oh,
digging on a property that's out in the country. We have incredible like neighbors. It's a beautiful community. I'm managing this business, coaching women to actually see that there is full potential in that dream scenario and that
yeah.
you are the activator of it,
Yep.
right?
You showed
And
up for
then,
it.
as you
And here
said,
it is.
there's like a release, there's a calm that comes
Mm-hmm.
into your life, and you wake up, no matter what your day has, there's a calm that comes into, I can manage this day, I can do what I need to, because you strongly believe in yourself and you've made time for yourself. Like for me, first thing in the morning is my time, always my time. I wake up like 5:15 if needed, and
Yeah.
get my day going while my partner still sleeps, so that I can actually provide for myself, do my mantras and my meditation and put joy into my own heart so that I can
Yeah.
actually fulfill so much more for others that I truly care about, right? And that I want to provide for. So,
Absolutely. I'm
yeah.
glad you touched on that because I was going to ask you, what steps do you take? And it sounds like, your morning routine is really important to you. So is there
Yeah.
anything else that you do that you feel like has really helped you stay in alignment now that you have tuned in and found that clarity?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you asked that because, again, I come off as like a very confident, like high energy person, and I am.
But you
However, I
intentionally
am
get there, I feel like.
right, and I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So like high energy when I'm around people, but like I need my time to myself to recharge. That's where I am, extroverted introvert. And people are always like, "You're so introverted, like you're such a social butterfly." I'm like, no, I'm not
But I
actually.
need to sleep for 3 days, don't talk to me.
Right. Yeah, they're like, I think Ashley's depressed. Like she hasn't been out of her house, or she hasn't really talked to anyone. I'm like, no, guys, I'm just restoring. Like I need another day, right?
Yeah.
So taking time for me is really important. Not taking time, making time for me. Like I said, I don't appreciate waking up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, but I do it because yes, I do appreciate that I can have that time for myself.
Yeah.
I am someone who always and still manage my anxiety, right? Medicine free, right? Like I don't take any medication for it. So for me, being able to check in with myself during the day is incredibly important for myself, right? So, and when I say check in with myself, I mean to actually, if I suddenly feel anxious or I suddenly feel, I got an email or maybe one of my clients is having a situation that is heavy for her and I'm helping her coach through it, then I always have to come back into me and do deep breaths throughout the day. I'm not like a yogi. Like, I know a lot of women I coach are like, where do you find time for this? Or how do you remember to do it? It becomes a practice, being
Yeah.
able to actually just, okay, I need a minute here. And then I can give myself a minute, maybe two. I literally will like make a mug of hot tea and it just feels good, right? So I really tap into my feel goods throughout the day, those things that provide me with peace. So it might be listening to a song, having a mug of a hot beverage for me because I like hot beverages. It might be journaling out. Or honestly, sometimes I'll even lie on the couch for like 3 minutes and it just allows me to come back to myself, right? And not get
Yeah.
caught up in the emotion of whatever maybe trying to take away from me that day, and allows me to restore my energy in the day. So
That's
that
so
is what
important.
keeps me in alignment,
Yeah.
right? Keeping
And
that energy and balance.
a tip I give women too is even
Yeah.
if you just set 2 random alarms,
Yeah.
like after lunchtime and like before you leave work, just to bring some awareness, like where are my thoughts? Am I thinking about the past? Am I worrying about the future? Am I caught up in the motion? And when the alarm goes off, take 3 to 5 deep breaths
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of bring the awareness of, oh, you know what? The sunlight outside is really beautiful. Or I actually hear some birds chirping. Just bring in the awareness and having, again, it doesn't have to take 3 hours. It's, a minute check in of, I'm okay. Life is beautiful. This is good, and
Right.
it
Yeah.
makes,
Like
again, those tiny little
1 minute.
actions can really make a big difference.
I love that yours is spontaneous too, right? Because it can start off as like that alarm that you said that goes off, a
Yeah,
spontaneous alarm that you set before, but it's
but
still
you'll
in that
forget
moment
about it.
probably, yeah, you forget about it. Exactly. So you're like, what the, oh,
Yeah,
that's right. It's
but
time
when
for
you're
me
learning to check
to bring
in,
intention.
you got
Yes.
to kind of cue yourself, but then, like you said, it becomes practice, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
part of your life. And you'll start to notice, oh, I'm feeling like some tension or some unrest, and you'll learn how to dive into that. Again, some people like to talk it out loud, some people like to journal, some people like to
Right.
meditate. You'll get to know yourself once you start doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
try different modalities, see what feels good, see what
Yeah.
works,
Yeah.
explore. Give yourself permission to explore.
Yes, yes. And start there. Give yourself permission, ladies. Give yourself
Yes,
permission because you deserve to have that. You
yes,
deserve to
yes,
feel
yes.
good. You deserve to feel calm. And it's possible.
Absolutely. Well, I want to respect people's time. I feel like you and
Yes.
I could chat
I
all
know
day.
forever. I know.
Is there anything you want to leave women who watch this with?
Yeah, you know what? If it's just the one thing that you take from this, from my opinion, is truly to know that you have the full potential, you have the full capabilities. It's all already within you.
Yeah,
There are tools that you can learn, there are things that you can practice, but everything that you need is truly already inside of you. And it's just a matter of finding the right keys to unlock it, right? So we have these little like boxes inside, and a lot of them have been locked just based on what we learned growing up. But I just want you to know that you have the power of choice, the power of permission, the power to create your own life. So start finding the keys, and it can be scary to unlock the door, but start unlocking those doors because when they open, your life changed. You have that internal shift that shifts everything on the outside.
I love that. I love it. And I just want to add, I mean, that's beautiful, but you deserve it. Like you said right before this, you are worthy of the desires of your heart. They're there for a reason. They are there on purpose. They're there to guide you. They're unique to you, and you don't need to diminish them. You don't need to water yourself down. Just continue to tune in and show up fully yourself.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this was a pleasure. I have a feeling we will
Yes.
do this again. So feel
Sounds good.
free, if you're watching, message either one of us if there's a topic you want to cover. If you have any
Mhm.
questions, we are here for you. And I look forward to our next chat.
Me too. And thanks for everybody who joined.
Yes. Thank you, guys.